All right, and we are going to continue on with Erik Jones, driver of the number 43 for Petty GMS Motorsports. We will start here at the front with Dalton Hopkins. Go ahead, Dalton.
Dalton Hopkins, frontstretch.com. Erik, after what happened at the Clash, has Ryan Blaney reached out to you at all, or do you consider the matter resolved?
No, he hasn't reached out to me. So I guess it's resolved. I mean, I don't know. I guess if I had a problem with someone, I would talk to him. So I guess it's over.
Go to Davey Siegel.
Hey, Erik. What was it like last year not having a teammate, and how's that changed this year for you? Because you come into the Cup Series with the Behemoth organization, had a lot of information to bounce off of teammates. Obviously, last year that changed, and now you have one in the fold with Ty Dillon.
Yeah, I think it's good. You know, last year was obviously a totally different year for me, going from a four-car team to a single-car team, and obviously a new organization, manufacturer, and everything. So kind of worked through that and learned every side of it, and obviously working through the year on our own there was a good experience. You know, I felt like we learned a lot, and obviously we had some good runs. We just didn't have the consistency. You know, we went to Las Vegas early in the year and ran 9th or 10th, and then we went back to Vegas later in the year and we ran 20th or whatever. So we just struggled with that consistency and keeping things where they needed to be. But I think GMS coming on board is going to be good for us. So far, it's been good. You know, merging with them, and obviously, Ty coming on board on that side is just nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of. You know, for me, it's nice in some ways being a single-car team. You can kind of do what you want and lead your own direction, but there's nobody to really have a stop check for you. You know, you can go down the wrong path pretty easily. So having someone there to, especially with a new car, try different stuff and see what works, what doesn't work, and maybe you can go a different direction is pretty helpful. So hopefully it pays off.
Go to Mark.
Mark Carroll, PRN. Erik, just looking a little farther down the road, like at Phoenix and this new next-gen car, after coming out of that test, the drivers talked about, or I heard comments about the car being more nimble and being more short-track friendly. I mean, do you see that, and will it change the race at Phoenix?
Yeah, I see it for sure. I look at the Coliseum specifically, and obviously that's the shortest of short tracks that we've been to, and I think about what the old car would have been like there, and I don't think the race would have been nearly as entertaining as what it was with the old car. Number one, I don't think it wouldn't have raced very well in general around that track. Number two, the durability-wise, body and stuff wouldn't have held up, near as well through that track. So I think the short track stuff's going to change a lot. You're going to be able to push the car way harder. Honestly, drivers are going to be able to drive a lot harder and get around there a lot quicker. So watch Phoenix test. I didn't get out there to run it, but watched it from afar, and I was encouraged. I think it's fun. I enjoyed the way the car drove at the Coliseum, and if it drives anything at Phoenix like it did there, I think it's going to be a pretty fun race.
We'll go to Steve, Holly, and then Dustin Albino.
Erik, Steve Schweitzer with the Lasco Press. Erik, you and Ty both had good runs at L.A., and the aggression certainly appeared to be up. Is that a result of maybe a little more freedom on you guys' part with a new ownership group? Are you able now to approach things more aggressively?
No, I don't think so. There was nothing last year that was, I guess holding me back and saying I couldn't be aggressive at times. But I think it was just the nature of the track, the quarter-mile Coliseum, the way that the track was laid out. Tempers were high, guys were getting frustrated, and things were happening quick, So, I don't know, it reminded me a lot of growing up racing. I did a lot of super late model racing growing up, and a lot of those tracks were quarter miles, 3/8 miles, and the racing that we saw in the Clash, the Coliseum, I immediately thought of all those nights of that racing and jack handles flying after the race and angry people, and so I don't know. That's what I thought of. I thought it was great. I mean, it's kind of, when I think of short track racing, that's what I think of, and that's how I remember it growing up. So I think that's just kind of what it was.
Holly Kane.
Eric, I guess this is the $50 million question, but how do you anticipate the duels kind of being in the race? Because you're balancing both the need of keeping your car in one piece, but getting a good spot. Do you expect them to kind of be a little bit more chill than maybe in past years?
I hope so. I feel like we're in a spot definitely where we need to race this car. We need to race this car in the 500. I think most are in that spot, but I think we're probably a little bit more than some with kind of the parts and pieces and the cars we have lined up going forward from here on to Fontana and from there. So we're going to have to race a little bit in the Clash. I think from what we've talked about, we're not too concerned where we start in the 500. I think you can race your way to the front in the 500 if you need to, especially with kind of seeing how these cars draft and the way you can move through the field and stuff you can do to pick up a lot of speed. So I don't know. I honestly don't know totally what my approach is going to be yet. It's going to kind of depend on where we start, where we qualify. There's some pretty fast guys. It looks like single car run yesterday that probably are going to have a shot for the pole. I don't know if we're quite in that mix. So we'll see where we stack up. And, I think I think we're going to be timid for sure. So that's probably my answer to your question.
Dustin?
Erik, you've raced a lot with Ty over the years as a competitor, but now as a teammate, what's that relationship been like?
Yeah, I mean, I've told people before this that have asked me, I didn't really know Ty. I knew Ty, obviously, as a competitor, but I never talked to him that much or worked with him, obviously, on the competition side of things. So we came up at a similar time and raced together a lot, just never worked together. So kind of learning him, right now, obviously going into the simulator, seeing what his driving style's like, and then going in and him kind of vice versa. So, that's a big thing, I think, as teammates, seeing what you guys each need out of the car, respectful of each other and working through that. So that helps too, and feedback and kind of the comments on the race car and what you're looking for. If the driving styles are a bit different, guys are going to want different stuff. And so that helps working through competition side of things. So that's a big thing right now that I'm trying to learn. But obviously talking to him a lot about kind of what he's looking for in his race car and how he's looking to approach the year right now.
Go to Lee Spencer.
Erik, you've been with a big team, a powerhouse team, and when Austin was in here, we talked about I asked him about the partnerships with all the different teams on the RCR campus. Does that kind of, help you get a lot of feedback from a lot of different teams rather than just kind of being out on an island with Petty? It
does. This year, we've actually moved off the campus. We're in the GMS shop now, but we still have our alliance with RCR. So that communication always helps, right? We just don't have the engineering power that a team like that does. We don't have the people working consistently on one piece of the car at a time and trying to develop it and make it better. So that's where the alliance with RCR is just huge for us, So it's important. I don't think without it we could do nearly the things that we can do so far with the race car and learn even about the next-gen car as much as we have. I think we have great people at GMS. I mean, Dave over there, our new crew chief, and Danny, our engineer, do a really good job, but they still need the information to put those pieces together. So having that to go back on and look at is pretty big for us.
We'll go to Daniel McFadden.
Daniel McFadden, Frenchers.com. Erik, going back to the Clash, were you surprised that Ryan Blaney, of all people, got ticked off enough to throw his Honda's device at you? Because I think it took a lot of people off guard. He's kind of has this unflappable demeanor. So were you surprised that happened?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The way I look at it, if I'm racing somebody and I brake checked them, I guess I'd expect to get wrecked, And it's not like I meant to take the guy out of the race, I didn't just intentionally right rear him in the wall. Moving up the track, he got in the wall and broke a piece, unfortunately, that took him farther out of the race. So, yeah, I mean, I was probably upset about that for sure. He was having a solid run there. Obviously, we were kind of moving forward together, but yeah, I mean, frustrated. I don't know. I wasn't, I guess, shocked to see it at all. I knew he'd probably be mad about it, so
okay.
I was just kind of waiting on it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Daniel. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll go right to the back here.
Hey, Eric, Cameron Richardson, the Rich Report. 3 straight seasons now, you've gone from having multiple teammates to no teammates, now you're to one. Just how does that weekly routine preparing for a race, how has that changed?
Yeah, it changes it. I mean, last year we had kind of our own program, right? It was just us. So I'd go into the shop on Mondays or Tuesdays, go up there, meet with the guys, go up, run the simulator, kind of go through our week-long preparation, what we were looking for in the race car, run on the sim, kind of run through our setup, run through some changes, and figure it out. That's changed a bit now, with obviously Ty and I both have to split the sim time and get on there and run in different packages and different stuff and seeing, kind of like I was saying, just learning each other's styles and what we want from the race car. So eventually, obviously, it'd be great to get to the point where we can each run setups from each other and know kind of, okay, he's going to like that or he's not going to like that change. And that's the goal to get to. But it's just nice having 2 people, kind of working out what we need from a race car, because I think every driver wants something different, right? And even something I don't think that I need in a race car that Ty is calling for could probably help me at the end of the day. So that's the nice part about it. You can work through a lot of different stuff and probably end up with a stronger race car than you would with one person working on it or developing it and asking for changes. So I'm excited about it. Ty's a good driver, and he's shown that, and he's worked through a lot of different organizations through his career, and I think this is probably one of the better opportunities he's had at the Cup level.
Go ahead, Justin Palmer.
Justin Palmer, Columbia, Missouri. And Eric, we saw the Penske drivers collaborating yesterday as well as the Toyota team. What's been kind of the collaboration between the RCR drivers and kind of the engine field that you guys have with that alliance?
Yeah, I mean, we've all talked about it and kind of what our plan is for the 500 specifically, not so much the duels or practice. So I think you'll see, probably trying to work together in the 500. It's always tough, right? I've obviously done it with 2 different manufacturers now, trying to work together in the race and what you do there and what the plan is. So it's hard. It's never easy to actually work together once you get in the heat of the battle and trying to stay connected and stay with each other and work your way to the front. But if it does work, works great. I've seen it work great. I've been a part of it working great. It's just hard to get everybody together. But, we have talked about it and what we kind of want to do for the 500.
As far as trying to help out some of the open teams that are in kind of the RCR kind of alliance system, have you guys talked about situations where you may potentially try to help them make their way into the 500 on Thursday night?
We haven't specifically in our group. For us, I think we're just really focused on racing this car in the 500. Unfortunately, we're in a spot where we really cannot wreck this car before the 500. So we have to get it into the race and make it started. So I think, unfortunately, as much as it'd be nice to help those guys out and get some more help in the 500 from those guys, because obviously they would be on our side, I don't think we're going to be able to really do much for them.
Any additional questions for Erik? Okay. Dustin Long.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. So with all you've talked about with the duels, then, Erik, I mean, does it just make as much sense just to ride at the back? Or where's the line in being safe, but don't you have to try to pick up and learn some things for Sunday? Or you've got 500 miles for Sunday to do that? Yeah,
it's a fine balance. I think from what we've talked about, I obviously you have to race in the duels a bit to, like you said, like to learn. We just haven't been in a big enough pack, even at the test, to know what these cars are going to do, how they're going to drive in the draft. So there is going to be some point where we have to race in the duel, learn about the car, and go from there. But, it's going to be an eyes wide open type of deal. If anything starts really getting kind of dicey or out of hand, we're going to have to be extra cautious on that side of things. So, I don't think us just riding around by ourselves is going to be an option, just because we do have to learn a little bit. But we are definitely going to err on the heavy side of caution.
Daniel?
Erik, you just mentioned you've worked with 2 different manufacturers when dealing with these kind of races. When you were at Toyota, you only had like 3 or 4 other Toyotas that you could work with. Now you have somewhat like half the field you could potentially work with. How does that affect you as a driver, knowing you have more possibilities, especially when it comes late in a race?
Well, when it was only a few cars, we'd always complain over there we didn't have enough people, right? And that was always the issue, that pitting by ourselves or doing that kind of thing. Well, we don't have enough cars. We can't maintain the speed that we need to. Well, now over here, it's almost the opposite issue. It's like, okay, you got so many cars. How is everybody going to work together? It's just not possible. So it's a struggle either way, right? You have to find the right balance. You kind of have to settle into the group you're going to really work with and what you're going to do to make that work. There's just no way that you can have that many cars working together. You have to keep your eyes open, and hey, if there's a time where you can help a guy out, it's on your manufacturer. You kind of have to do that depending on the point in the race, but it just goes both ways. It's funny when you're on both sides of it. It's such a different mentality each way, but you got to do what you can to help out.
Come up here to the middle to Bruce.
Bruce Martin with Speed Sport. We've heard several drivers talk about the lack of parts for the car. If we do wad a couple up over the week between now and race day, can you see, one team lending parts or giving parts from their team over to another operation to help them get put back together?
Yeah, depending on what it is, yes. Some parts and pieces are harder to get than others, obviously, right now. I would say we have a good chunk of parts and pieces here to put a bit of a car back together. If we were to completely destroy a car, it's not possible. We would have to go back home, get another car, and bring it down, which would be very unfortunate. So yeah, I don't know. I could probably see that maybe in an alliance situation, like I said, depending on the part and piece. But I don't think the chassis is necessarily the struggle as much. It's the parts and pieces to put it together. So depending on what it is, you could probably see that happen.
Any other questions for Erik?